Happy New Year! Like Linkara, I am going to list the mistakes I made throughout the year. One of my first mistakes I'd like to mention, and it's probably something obvious to a lot of you, is that I didn't write a script for any of my episodes till my fifth one, which was the One More Day, One Moment in Time review. I should have written scripts. I found out my first two reviews, Amazing Spider-Man number 1 and Incredible Hulk number 271, had an average watching time of only a few minutes for most viewers. I think it's because of me constantly making mistakes and saying and pausing a lot. It was, I guess, a bit grating for some, sadly, and I apologize for that. Also, even though I corrected it, I made the mistake of saying Lila, Rocket's girlfriend in Incredible Hulk number 271 was a fox. She is actually an otter. To be fair, in Incredible Hulk number 271, she doesn't look like an otter. Though looking at the comic again for this video, she doesn't look like a fox either. Looks more like a cat. I did not find out till after I started editing the review, only because of buying a trade of Rocket series from 1983, like I mentioned in that review. And it shows her without any clothes in one scene, and that's when I realized my mistake. And just to let you know, that scene of her with no clothes is done in a non-graphic way. To be fair, like I said, she doesn't really look like an otter. My next mistake is something I regret not talking about in my One More Day, One Moment in Time review. Daredevil's long history with Spider-Man getting undone. Spider-Man and Daredevil revealed each other's identities to one another at the end of the death of Jean Day Wolf, and way back in 1985. Sadly, though, my scanner is still not working, so I can't show you that scene. But there were so many stories over the years I have read that have now been completely erased because of One More Day. Like this really good moment at Karen Page's funeral. Yeah, those who know the Netflix series and the recent Disney Plus show are probably surprised to learn that fact. It happened back in the late 90s. Not only that, but Mysterio was responsible for her death. He hired Bullseye to kill her. I doubt it's ever getting adapted with Mysterio in it, though. Anyway, at Karen's funeral, Peter goes up to Matt and tells him he'd like to talk to him later. They agree to meet somewhere as Spider-Man and Daredevil. There's this good moment you see here where Matt expresses his grief to Spider-Man and where Spider-Man mentions how his girlfriend was also killed by a lunatic. Matt rants about how his girlfriend, just like Karen, was unaware of who they really were, and rants about how neither of them do a lot of good in the long run. Then Spider-Man tells him that he's wrong because he had saved the life of a baby girl from Mysterio. Matt thinks after Spider-Man has left, "Thanks, Peter." 22 years of character development and story between Spider-Man and Daredevil was erased from existence because of One More Day. It's really rather frustrating, and all this because Joe Quesada wanted the comics to be like the 1970s. He often has said that it's because he couldn't stand Peter and Mary Jane being married, but there's more to it than that, let's face it. He didn't like everyone knowing Peter was Spider-Man, and that's pretty obvious with One Moment in Time, as you saw in my review. And I understand comics change, but I don't like the changes made to Spider-Man, like I said, but you already know that. Sorry, I'm kind of making another mistake by ranting about it. I'd also like to make another statement of honesty, and that I made a mistake in one of my last reviews, an Amazing Spider-Man number 166 review. I said that Stegron had never been in a cartoon, but that isn't true. The cartoon he is in, though, is not one I have ever wanted to watch. It's called Marvel Superhero Adventures. The reason I don't want to watch it is because every single character in it is a kid. even the Punisher. So I don't have much interest in it. Although, if the premise of that cartoon is that some evil magic user magically transformed the bodies of heroes and anti heroes of the Marvel Universe into the bodies of kids, I might change my mind about not watching it, though I doubt that is the premise. Another mistake I made was in my Detective Comics number 66 review. I said that the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde novel was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's true, but there's no way that would fit on the book Bob Kane drew on the first page of the comic. And another mistake that I had already mentioned in a previous review was that I forgot to say how Harry's resurrection was undone in my One More Day, One Moment in Time review. I ended up talking about it though in my Silver Surfer number 3 review, and anyway, just wanted to point that out. I think I'm gonna skip the telling you that story, but there is something else though that I forgot to mention. In the story that Undead Sins Past, there is a villain named Kindred who claimed to be the real Harry Osborn, and he keeps yelling at Spider-Man that he did a horrible thing. All those like me who know of Spider-Man's and Mary Jane's deal with the demon Mephisto knew that this villain Kindred was talking about his deal with a demon. That's what made the story aggravating. They kept referencing One More Day throughout the whole story, hinting at undoing it, and then undid Sins Past instead. It's so dumb. Anyway, rant on that over. Also, in my last review, I said that Banner controlled Hulk lasted over 10 years, but that isn't true. Banner lost control 9 years later in the year 2000, so that was an error. Though Banner controlled Hulk did last till the year 2000, so my complaint still stands. Anyway, we all make mistakes, even if at times we might not want to admit it. Next time I am talking about my least favorite Marvel retcons. See you then.